Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Shay Reads, and today we are going to be doing my December TBR. Okay, so for December we are going to do D&D Picks My TBR again, so we're going to get into those roles in just a minute, but for last month I did pick 4 books from my D&D Picks My TBR, and I did only get to do 2 of them because Iron Flame put me in the worst reading slump of my life. So I only got to 2 of the books that were officially on my D&D Picks My TBR. And I didn't get to either of the other fantasies that I added on top of that just because I've been not in a reading headspace last month. So I will go over, I did read There Are No Saints, and then I did my mood read. So those are the 2 that I got on there that I did finish. The 2 I didn't get to, the first one was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, and then Soulless Girls. I did try picking this one up, but I just wasn't feeling it. I think I'm more in the mood for like fantasy, and then I just haven't even attempted to pick this one up yet. So that's kind of how my last TBR went. So it'll give you kind of an idea. This time we're going to do 4 rolls, so let's get into the rolls and see what we get for this TBR. Okay, so we are going to do my number 1 roll, but I'll kind of just bring the board up a little bit so you can see them all again. Okay, perfect. So this is the D&D board. Last time we ended on a half orc. Okay, so we're going to roll for number 1. And we got a 16. Okay, so for roll number 1, we got adult fantasy. Okay, so for our roll number 1, we got dragon, which is adult fantasy, and seeing as how I didn't get to this last month, we are adding House of Earth and Blood on this month's TBR, and I need to read it because I need to read the second one at the beginning of January in order to be ready for the third one. But this is about Bryce, and she lives in Crescent City. This is a city that has werewolves, vampires, fae, mermaids, all of that kind of stuff, and her friends get murdered in like the very beginning of the book, and it's in the synopsis, so don't worry. But basically this is her trying to figure out what happened to them and try and figure out some of these mysteries that are going on in Crescent City. So yeah, I would just want to read this so I can annotate and get my reread done before the third one comes in. Alright, and we'll get to roll number 2. Okay, let's do roll number 2. Alright, and we did get a 1, so that means we have to add 1 more book to our TBR. Okay, so for roll number 2, we got a spicy romance. Okay, and so for roll number 2, we got Phoenix, which is a spicy romance, and we rolled a 1, so we're going to be adding another book on the TBR, so we're going to have 5 this month instead of 4. So for my spicy read, we are going to do There Is No Devil, and this is the second book in the series, so I did read this one last month, and I'm going to read this one this month, which I'm excited for because I really enjoyed the first one. It was the only thing I've read after Iron Flame that I was actually into. So basically the first one, you meet a girl who gets out of a dangerous situation, and our main love interest, he is actually like a serial killer, and he sees her like get out of the situation and then basically becomes infatuated with her and kind of like stalks her. So that's kind of how the first one is. So I don't want to go into much detail just because this is the second one, but this is a fun dark romance. So yeah, I'm excited that I was able to put this one on my TBR for this month. Alright, so now it's roll number 3. And it looks like we got a 13. Alright, and for roll number 3, we got a wolf, so a werewolf, so it is a black book. Okay, so for rule number 3, we got a black book, which is werewolf, which is a black book. So for that one, I am going to pick up Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Everyone is loving this book, and this just feels like the perfect time to read it. I love like fantasies and stuff in the winter. So this is, I think it's magical realism. There's our two main characters work at the paper, and they're both fighting for the same journalism position, and her brother is off at war and she writes him letters, and the letters end up getting sent to her coworker, which she's enemies with. So they have like a magic typewriter that will send it to him, and so there's like gods and political stuff in here too, I guess. So yeah, I'm finally gonna read this because everyone loves it, so I finally want to get my hands on it and read it this month. And it's pretty short, so I'm thinking I'll probably more than likely be able to get through this one. All right, so for roll number 4, we got 11. So that is going to be a direwolf, and that is fantasy. Okay, so this is Editing Me, and the book I originally picked for fantasy, I was reading the first one this past week, and I ended up not liking it, and my original pick was the second one. So I'm not going to continue on with that series. So instead, for fantasy, I'm going to pick up Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I heard a lot of good stuff about this on YouTube and TikTok and stuff recently. It's a fantasy, and it's kind of like Hunger Games-esque. So she has to compete in this like tournament, and she's the only one that doesn't have powers. So it's like dangerous for her, and no one knows that she doesn't have powers. So I'm going to pick up this one for my fantasy. But yeah, I'm really excited to pick this one up and be able to add this one instead to my TBR. Alright, and I was only going to do 4 rolls, but since we rolled a 1, this is going to be our last roll, hopefully. So this is going to be roll number 5. And we got an 18. And we got another dragon, which is another adult fantasy. Okay, and then for number 5, which we added on because we got a 1, is also adult fantasy. So we are also adding on another book from last month, which is The Hurricane Wars, because I've been dying to read this one too, and I just haven't yet, so I'm putting this one on again. So we have a couple repeats from last month because I really want to get to them, just haven't yet. But this is basically about our two main characters. One has light magic and one has dark magic, and basically they are mortal enemies, and the main male love interest ends up seeing her on the battlefield and for some reason can't kill her, and so I believe they end up trying to work together to save their world and stuff like that. So I'm loving it. Enemies to lovers romance, fantasy, magic, all of that fun stuff. So I'm excited to pick this one up in the month of December, and I've just been in a fantasy mood ever since Iron Flame and Fourth Wing, and I know I've said it like a million times, but I'm hoping all these fantasies will help me get out of that. But yeah, that was book number 5. So those are going to be the 5 books that we're going to read this month. So yeah, these are the 5 books that I picked out, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about all of these. It should give me quite a bit to move in and out of my TBR depending on how I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm hoping December will be a better reading month for me, because November I started my new job, and with a book slump it was just terrible. So I'm hoping December is a better month for my reading. But yeah, I think that's going to be all for today. I definitely would love it if you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back with another video later. Happy reading!